I used to joke that my life was a Jenga tower, held together with good intentions and careful hands. You can pull out a lot of pieces if you put them back just right. You can balance the whole ridiculous thing if nobody sneezes. The night my husband told me I should have married my son's real dad, I finally heard how the blocks sounded when they hit the floor. Here's the part you'll judge first, so I'll go ahead and lay it out. My son's father isn't my husband. He never was. When I got pregnant at 23, I had already broken up with Marco. Beautiful, chaotic, my college on again off again. He was the kind of man who felt like a soundtrack, loud, intoxicating, too much. When I told him I was pregnant, he kissed my forehead as if that counted as a promise and said, "We'll figure it out." And then, within a month, figuring it out meant borrowing money from me for a business idea and disappearing for 2 weeks at a time. I learned quickly that love can be a coat you hand someone to keep them warm and still watch them walk out into the snow. My son, Luke, was born in the spring. The hospital room smelled like lemon cleaner and machine air, and my mother cried when she saw him because she's the kind of woman who believes new people are proof God hasn't given up yet. On the birth certificate under father, there is a blank. I didn't leave it empty because I was noble or because I wanted to make some clever point about independence. I left it blank because I couldn't stand the idea of Marco's name printed next to mine like a stamp I could never scrape off. It's funny how shame and pride can end up using the same font. I met Adam when Luke was 6 months old. Adam is calm. There's a steadiness to him that makes rooms feel less loud. He works in municipal planning, zoning maps, permitting the unglamorous bones of a city. And he loves the parts of life you only notice when they stop working. Our first date, he asked more questions about Luke than any man had asked me about anything in 2 years. He wasn't trying to audition. He just wanted to know how to hold the story, so he didn't drop any pieces. People will tell you my kid adored him from the start, the way they tell you their dog knows good people. I won't pretend Luke chose Adam. He didn't choose anything at that age but sleep schedules and which stuffed giraffe to gum to death. But there was a softness in Adam's shoulders when he held Luke that made me feel like maybe the tower could stand. By our second year together, Adam had a drawer at my place and a habit of buying 2 of everything, one for his apartment, one for mine. By our third, he sold his lease, moved in, and started using we, even when he wasn't trying to be cute. When Luke was 4 and mispronounced spaghetti as paschetti, Adam corrected him once and then spent the next 6 months calling it paschetti, too. When Luke had croup and woke up barking, Adam was the one who took him into the bathroom to run the hot shower and sat on the edge of the tub humming old Motown songs until the rasp turned to sleep. And yes, I let him be dad. Not on paper. Not legally. But in the ways that fill a day. "Go ask Dad where your red socks are," I'd say, and Luke would thunder down the hall, confident the man at the end of it would find them. We got married when Luke was 5. Small ceremony, backyard, twinkle lights we forgot to take down until November. My father made a toast about men who show up, and my mother kissed Adam's cheek after the cake like she was stamping him for membership. After the honeymoon, Adam brought home a stack of forms about step-parent adoption.
He didn't pressure me.
He just said, "If you want to do this, I want to do it right." We booked a consultation with a family lawyer. The lawyer explained things I'd half heard and didn't want to really hear: how states differ, how some require notice to the biological father even if he hasn't been around, how termination of parental rights is a big deal even for a ghost. We left with a folder of possibilities. I slid it into the junk drawer with the battery charger and the rubber bands and told myself it wasn't procrastination if you were protecting your kid from a man who might reappear and ruin everything. The folder lived there for 4 years. Marco's cameos were always the same: a text at Christmas, "Can I see my boy?" A call on a random Tuesday in June when the weather was too good for whatever he was supposed to be doing, "Bring him to the park, I miss him." A promise that if we could just work out child support informally, he'd be consistent. I learned quickly that informally means never. I stopped answering. When he emailed me from a new account 3 years after the last contact, I wrote back once, set boundaries, and then let silence be its own grammar. If you're tempted to tell me I didn't try hard enough to make a father out of him, I want you to know I believed for a long time that it was my job to make people into what I needed. I'm still unlearning that. There are 100 small decisions that add up to a lie, and I made every one of them kindly. When Luke's kindergarten did Father's Day drawings, he drew Adam with a rectangle body and stick legs and a face like a sun, all spokes and smile. When a classmate said, "Your dad doesn't look like you," Luke answered, "I look like my mom," And the teacher sent me a note about how well he handled teasing, and I put it on the fridge like a trophy. When the pediatrician asked about family medical history, I said no known issues for Adam's line and shrugged too quickly for Marco's. When Adam suggested, again, that we talk about adoption before middle school complicates the math, I said, soon. I just don't want to poke the bear. He nodded. He didn't like the phrase. He's not a metaphor guy. But he respected the part of me that knew exactly how dangerous Marco could be when limelight was available. If you're waiting for the cheating twist, there isn't one. That isn't the block that got pulled. What broke us was smaller and meaner. I built a life on the expectation that Adam would keep forgiving the parts of the story I kept hidden because my hiding was for good reasons. Maybe it was. It still counted. It started with a project at school. 5th grade, family trees. The kind where you have to bring in photos so they can laminate the leaves. I uploaded 3 pictures, my parents, me and Adam at the county fair with powdered sugar on our noses, Luke in the middle with his gummy smile. I wrote Dad, Adam, without thinking about it, because what else would I write? The assignment came home 2 days later with a note from MS. Greer, please have your son's father sign this line confirming the information is correct. There was a blank space with a neat X. Adam read it at the kitchen counter while he was slicing apples. He didn't look up. I'll sign.
He signed.
He rinsed the knife. He put the apples in a bowl. He said, and I still hear the sound of the words on ceramic air, it would be easier to sign this if a lawyer asked me to.
I went cold and hot at the same time.
You know why we haven't, I said, defensive preloaded in every syllable. Marco would have to be notified. You remember what the lawyer said. If he contests, he could make this miserable. He could drag Luke into a courtroom. He could. Stop showing up once a year like a bad holiday and start showing up in ways we can handle. Adam's voice wasn't sharp. He's never sharp. That almost made it worse.
He dried his hands.
We've been living with what if he comes for a decade. We could also live with what if we protect our son. I hate that I rolled my eyes. I hate that I said, I am protecting him, like Adam loves Luke any less than I do. He put the pencil down and put his palm on the counter. Do you know what it feels like to be introduced as my partner at the pediatric dentist because you forget which word is safe in which room? Do you know what it feels like to be dad everywhere, but on the form that matters if a nurse is looking at you like you might be lying? I'm not asking for a parade. I'm asking to be allowed to hold my son in every kind of daylight. He didn't say your son. He never has. Mine either when he's angry.
Our.
It's always our. The problem with a good man is that when you hear yourself argue with him, you learn the sound of your own pettiness. We booked another consultation. I told myself I was doing it for Adam and for Luke, because it is both true and useful that children benefit when the adults who care for them have the legal authority to act. The new lawyer explained what the first one had. Our state allows step-parent adoption if the biological father consents or if his rights are terminated by the court for specific reasons, including abandonment. Abandonment isn't just a feeling, it's a legal term with timelines. We had a decent case. We'd need to serve Marco. We'd need to brace for him to stall. Sometimes, the lawyer said, people who are uninterested in parenting become very interested when they can make trouble. She said it without judgment. It's just a thing that happens. I texted the number I still had for Marco to verify his address. He responded within 5 minutes because chaos has excellent reflexes. Is this about Luke? I've been thinking about him so much. He asked for a photo. I didn't send one. I sent him the lawyer's information. He responded with strings of messages that pinged my phone like hail. How dare you? I'm his father. I won't let some other man take my place. He's my blood. You're selfish. Then he sent a selfie of himself with a child I didn't recognize and wrote, I'm a good dad. I didn't respond. The lawyer served him papers the following week. He didn't file an objection. He didn't show. He called me at midnight 3 Fridays in a row to leave voicemails about how he was going to take me to court for parental alienation because his cousin's girlfriend on Facebook said he could. He never hired an attorney. The court date came. The court date went. The judge asked Adam 3 questions that barely scratched the surface of what this man has done for our son. Do you understand the rights and responsibilities you are assuming?
Yes.
Have you discussed this with your spouse and child? Yes, we had practiced the words with Luke using Lego people and tears. Is this adoption in the child's best interest?
God, yes.
The judge said she was pleased to sign. She tapped her pen on the file and smiled at Luke, who wore a tie Adam taught him to not. If your heart rose reading that, it's because we are conditioned to think the story ends at the gavel. It doesn't. The adoption gave Adam what he already lived like he had. It gave Luke what he deserved. It also gave me a sense of victory I wore like perfume. For a while that smell covered everything. Then came the summer Luke turned 12. Middle school is its own country. He went from building cardboard forts in the living room to building a privacy wall around himself in a month. He grew 3 inches and learned the word cringe and spent a lot of time saying it about me. He found Marco on Instagram. There's the part one didn't plan for. I was so busy preparing for certified mail and contested hearings and avoiding holiday ambushes that I forgot everybody carries a machine now that can conjure the people you did not invite. The message came one afternoon while I was at work, a screenshot from Luke of a DM Marco had sent him that said, "I'm your real dad. I've missed you." The second screenshot was from Luke to me. Is this true? My hands shook so badly, I typed my code wrong 3 times before my phone unlocked. I told him I'd be home in 20 minutes, and if he could wait for me, I'd rather say the words out loud. He wrote, K, which is a letter shaped like a blade. When I walked in, Adam was already sitting with him on the couch, the folder from the junk drawer finally out in the open on the coffee table like a folded map of all the places we had refused to go. Luke's face had the expression I used to see when he fell off his bike. I'm trying to decide whether to cry or pretend I meant to do it. I sat on the floor so I could look up at him, because this conversation belonged at his level. I told him yes, that Marco is his biological father, and that Adam is his legal father and his everyday father, and that both of those things can be true at once even if one of them hurts. He asked why I didn't tell him sooner. I said I thought I was giving him the gift of a simple childhood. He said, not unkindly, you gave me a surprise instead. He asked if he looks like Marco. I said he has my mother's eyes and Adam's patience. He didn't laugh. He asked if he could meet Marco. I said we would talk about that with his therapist first. He said the word everyone learns at 12 and wields like a new sword. Whatever. Luke texted Marco, I'm not talking without my parents. He used the word parents like a rope, and I held onto that rope like I was dangling over a cliff. Marco replied with a string of fireworks emojis and, tell your mom I'm taking her to court. He did not ask how 6th grade is. He did not ask what Luke likes to build now. He sent a photo of himself in a gym mirror. I turned off the phone. I made dinner like making pasta could hold the pieces in place. 2 days later, Luke and Adam had their usual Saturday morning hardware store ritual. Coffee for Adam, hot chocolate for Luke, a walk down aisles of things they don't need, a little bag of screws that will be useful someday. When they came back, Adam was quiet. He took the mail from the box, flipped through it, and held up an envelope with Marco's handwriting on the front like something that might explode. Inside was a photocopied photo. Me and Marco at 19, drunk at a party, his arm around me, my head tipped back, a version of me I barely remember. And a note, you should have married me. He'll want to eventually. It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to Adam by name. We looked at the same words and saw different daggers. Adam rubbed his forehead like a man trying to erase a line drawn in the wrong place. That night, after Luke was in bed, Adam sat at the end of our couch, not touching me, not pretending he could. I know he's trying to get in my head, he said. I know that. Intellectually. He laughed once, a small, empty sound. But I am so tired of not being the person on the line where it counts until the line hurts you, and then I'm the one bleeding. I tried to say the right thing. I said, you are Luke's father. He said, I am. And here is where the sentence cut. Because I showed up, not because you told me the truth. He put his hands flat on his knees. He looked at the wall like there might be instructions printed on it. You should have married his father, he said finally, quietly. Not because he would have stayed. He wouldn't. But because if what you wanted was to build a life on a story that keeps changing, you should have chosen someone who likes chaos. I don't. I like roads that go where the map says they will. I like forms that match the life they describe. I've spent 10 years loving a boy who is mine, and a woman who won't stop making me a step behind. I said, that isn't fair, because saying, I'm sorry would have been the truer sentence, and it was stuck behind old pride. He stood. He went into our room and packed a duffel bag with the precise efficiency of a man who knows where his things are even when he doesn't know where he's going. He kissed Luke's hair while he slept. He didn't wake him. He picked up the adoption order from the coffee table and put it in the folder, like you put a photograph back in an album you aren't ready to look at. At the door, he turned. "I will always be Luke's dad," he said, and I believed him because when Adam says always, he means as long as he is breathing. "I don't know if I can be your husband. I don't know how to love you without resenting the part of you that keeps me outside the rooms where you make decisions." I said I would change. He said he hoped so for Luke. He put his hand on the doorframe the way he does when he is measuring something invisible. Then he left. No slammed door. No speech. Just the soft click that means the latch caught. He didn't text the next day. He didn't text the day after. On Monday, he sent a message to the group chat with me and Luke that said, "I'll pick you up from practice at 4. Pizza after?" Luke sent 3 pizza emojis. I sent thank you. He liked it. This is how you learn the shape of a boundary. Little icons instead of words where words used to be. I wish I could tell you, he came back after a month of me learning to tell the truth in complete sentences. He did not. We set up a schedule that looks like divorced people's calendars. Tuesdays and Thursdays with Adam, alternating weekends, handoffs in the parking lot so nobody's kitchen has to hold the residue of adult conversation. Legally, we didn't need a parenting plan because we weren't splitting custody. We were agreeing like grown-ups. That is the only part of this story I get to be proud of. I did not drag the man who raised my son into a courtroom to prove he is a good father. I didn't need a judge to tell me what I already knew. Marco tried to angle his way in for 3 weeks after he found out we had gone ahead with the adoption. He sent Luke voice notes that sounded like a man performing fatherhood into a mirror. He tagged me in a Facebook post where he wrote a paragraph about mothers who steal babies from their dads and used a photo of Luke as a toddler without my consent. I reported it. It came down. He sent me a Cash App request for back support. I blocked the account. The lawyer filed a copy of the adoption order with the State Vital Records Office. A new birth certificate arrived in the mail with Adam's name in the box that used to be blank. I held it in my hands like something I had stolen and something I had earned. Luke is 13 now. He has opinions about everything and will tell you them whether you asked or not. He plays soccer with a ferocity that surprises me, as if he is trying to run away from the slower parts of the story. When Mother's Day came around this year, he made me a card that said, "Thanks for always being honest," and then crossed out always and wrote now. I laughed and cried at the same time because he was right, and because his handwriting slants exactly like mine did at his age, and because humor is our family's way of making room for truth without poking our eyes out on it. Adam shows up to every game with a chair that folds into itself like origami and a cooler of orange slices because he's the kind of man who will always make sure someone has fruit. He stands a little apart from me. He doesn't ask about my day. He doesn't touch my shoulder when Luke heads a ball. But when Luke looks up into the stands and raises his hand the way he's always done to find us, Adam lifts his in return. The thread between them didn't snap. I was the one who tied it into knots. You want to know if he's dating? He might be. He doesn't tell me. He told Luke first when it mattered, the way it should be. If you're looking for a villain to hang this on, don't use him. Don't even use Marco, though he's an easier costume to put on the bad guy. Use me. I turned a blank on a form into a room. I told myself I was protecting my child from when I was really protecting myself from watching a man walk away. Adam walked away anyway, because men like him won't stay in a house where the blueprints don't match the walls. Sometimes I take the folder out of the drawer and read the adoption order again. It's a banal document. It doesn't sing. It doesn't glow. It just says, in the dry language of a system that is trying to be fair, this man is now, in every way that matters to us, the father of this child. I wish the paper could also say the other sentence, the one I am living with. If you want to keep a man like that, you have to live in a way that lets him breathe. You cannot keep him forever half inside a story you are still editing. People love a clean ending. I learned, I apologized, he came home. I am learning. I am apologizing. He did not come home. He won, if that word even belongs here, because he refused to be a consolation prize to a younger self I kept trying to keep alive with silence. He chose himself without punishing me through our son. He drew a line around the part of his heart that is mine and the part that isn't anymore, and he stayed on the right side of it. That is what dignity looks like. It is not cinematic. It is steady. It is the way a good man closes a door and then keeps another one open for a kid who needs to run in and out without tripping. If you are a woman like me reading this and telling yourself you are protecting your child by pretending a blank on a form is a favor, I don't have advice that fits on a t-shirt. Only this: make a plan that would make sense even if your fear wasn't steering. Talk to a lawyer before you talk to a mirror. Don't raise a person on a story that has to be whispered. Your child will grow up, your secrets will, too. When someone offers to stand in every kind of daylight with you, tell them the weather. Sometimes Luke still asks if he can meet Marco. We work it through with his therapist, a woman who has the right kind of chair for listening. For now, Luke texts Adam first when his shin hurts after practice, and Adam tells him to ice it and elevates the leg while they play Mario Kart. For now, that is a kind of mercy. For now, I am learning how to stand in the bleachers and cheer without pretending I am the hero. I am learning how to be a mother who says, "I should have told you sooner." I am learning how to call a man who deserves it by his right name, Dad. And I am living with the echo of the sentence that took the tower down. Not because he was cruel, but because saying it was the only honest way for him to leave. You should have married your son's father. The secret is that I did. I just married him too late, and then dared him to live in a house I wouldn't stop treating like a stage. He walked off it.
He didn't bow.
He didn't wait for applause. He found the exit like a man who knows the map, and used it.